came to Village Radio in 1980. This system is called, this model of Serge is called the Series 79. And that's to distinguish it from the Series 73, which you can see actually some reconstructions going around on the internet. I don't know whether you can really buy original. Well, of course you can buy over eBay if you've got enough money. You can buy anything. But there was a Serge 73 models from 6 years previous, and the difference between the Serge 73 model and the Serge 79 model is that the Serge 73 model works at a lower level of primitiveness. The modules, you have to basically create the modules yourself from using very, very basic elements, such as negative and positive slew limiters and comparators and stuff like that. They had basic oscillators there, and for sure, but to make, say, for example, this module that we have a lot of use for in the Serge 79, this universal slope generator, you've got to kind of build it up from first principles. But anyway, this is the Serge 79, which means that the design was somewhat complete in 79, and that's when I saw 79 was the year, probably actually maybe 78, no 79 I guess, I saw the advert for the Serge, which I have somewhere actually on my machine, that gave us the idea, because I worked for, at the time, for designing what was called Village Radio Studio, that's the experimental studio of Finnish Radio. And I'd been there since 76, and we were designing a new studio to open in Pasila in 1980, approximately. And so we were looking out for different kinds of synthesizers. And what happened was that we had a certain budget for the Kokeilu studio, for the experimental studio, but everybody wanted different things. So some digital sound synthesis was in its infancy at the time, and the most advanced digital synthesizer that was available at that time was called the Synclavier. It was an FM synthesizer. It wasn't really, you couldn't say it was really commercially produced. It was produced in very small numbers, the Synclavier number 1. And some people wanted the Synclavier number 1, and some people wanted a direct digital system. So they wanted a PDP-11, which is an incredibly expensive piece of computer technology. And I wanted an analog system because I loved analog systems, and I'd worked previously with things like the VCS3, which you may know, the VCS3. I was educated on the VCS3, which is a great synthesizer because it is not 1 volt per octave, it is 1/3 of a volt per octave, which means that when you sweep the oscillators, you can sweep them over, I don't know, well, that's like, probably 30 octaves. No, I don't know. A lot of octaves anyway. And then I'd worked with a Minimoog as well. In the Kokeilu studio had a Minimoog, and yeah, we had various laboratory oscillators built around the Minimoog. If I could get to my YouTube channel, I could show you this stuff. But anyway, there was all kinds of little laboratory equipment, of envelope followers which I'd built, and some ring modulators and stuff built around the Minimoog. You could do actually quite a lot because the Minimoog had a lot of control inputs along the back of it. So you could put them on a patch bay and patch them onto various things and do some weird stuff with it. So we'd done that, but I wanted to get a really good analog system, and the problem with getting one at at any kind of price that we could afford was the thing. So we decided to go for this kit. This is the big kit, and then when you add the small module to it, you get quite a big system. And it's got 6 oscillators. It's got 4 of the new timbre oscillator and 2 of the precision oscillator. That's the same as this and this here. And then it's got pitch and envelope filler. Pitch, so that was something you could play instruments into it and get the pitch following from it. It's got some noise sources that actually, this noise source is not on that model, but it's made of, Yeah, but some of the modules are the same. Smooth function generator, oscillators. This filter is very similar to this one here, not quite the same, but almost the same. So this has a low frequency range, so you can use it at control voltage speed. So you could do circular panning and things like that using one of these. And then it has the variable bandwidth filter, which is something that, candidly, you won't really find almost in any synthesizer anywhere, except the Serge. And it has the universal processor here, which is for panning and VCAs, which is the same as this, but it also has a quad VCA here. And it has some VCAs for DC voltages, and it has a little pulse sequencer, bidirectional. It has 6 ADSRs, so basically it can be made into a 6-voice. If you use all the oscillators at one oscillator per voice, then you can create a kind of 6-voice system with it. Has a matrix mixer, has a phaser, there's a phaser in there as well, resonant equalizer, and so on. So that's what it has. And then, if you look here on the ends, it's got something called the bus and the patch. And then it has this panel down here. And all that exists, it also has a tuner and a couple of joysticks. And all that exists because one of the ideas of getting this system and having all these voices was to be able to connect it to a computer. And the computer was the Apple II computer. Let me see. That kind of computer. That's pretty much what the computer looked like that we controlled the Serge with in the Oodi Radio Experimental Studio. Actually, I do have a picture of the actual computer as well, which I found later. And this was the studio itself at that time.
What year was it?
What's that?
What year was it?
Well, this picture I think is probably taken in '82. An analog thing, you called it a hybrid system. You used to call it at that time a hybrid system. As opposed to a digital synthesizer, or a hardware digital synthesizer, or a hardware direct digital synthesis system. And so there wasn't any software at the beginning. We got a piece of software free from Roger Powell, who was David Bowie's keyboardist. This is another program I wrote called Synthex, which was basically modeling of synthesizer type functions inside the computer. So you had modules like you have modules on the Serge, but they were kind of digital modules, and they did kind of digital-like things like different kinds of envelopes or sequencers or so on. This is actually what you had. You had a key envelope, a delay, a multi-segment envelope, sequencer, a peak follower, and things like that. I think there were 20-odd different types of modules. And you could use the data editor, the same data editor for that in the same one that was made for the Play program. And these are the kind of tables you could make with it. You could make line segment tables, random tables within limits, and then you could take 2 tables together and use it a mask, for example, to create a random mask. This was pretty much emulated from a program by Barry Truax called Pod, which had similar kind of features to the program. So those are the sequencer things. So we use these programs to control the Serge. The Serge made the sounds, and the computer controlled the functions of it. But of course you can use the sequencer in a kind of analog mode. The Apple itself had a joystick. You could use that for drawing these functions. So you could draw these tables with the joystick.
In a graphic interface?
Yeah, in a graphic interface, yeah. And this thing is the real-time clock. So it's going to the interrupt of the microcomputer, and basically you can speed up the rate that the thing is clocking the modules. So you can this is the only only way at that time you could really change the speed of the operation and the tempo and so on. So that's the actual computer from, and it's running Synthex there, as you see on the screen, and it had these two disk drives or diskettes. I had these are the two paddles. Actually, the controller is not visible here, but actually it's on this table to the left, I think. But basically there was a frame here which had various cards in it, and it had the DAC card in it, and the ADC, DAC and ADC card, and it had some language cards and stuff in it. So the only way you could run a language, like a real computer language, on a computer like this was to have a card to run it, a card for Pascal, a card for Fortran. The only things that it ran by itself was BASIC or assembly language. They had a booklet in Stockholm, which would interest everybody. But the booklet was different from the Serge in the sense that the booklet has two kinds of signal paths. It has the signal paths using the bananas, which is for control. It has the signal paths for audio, which is with mini jacks. And so it was not quite as easy to combine just any way you want. Which the Serge philosophy was to be able to patch anything to anything, basically, and that was it. And the modules themselves would be as multifunctional as possible.